Britain, the morning sunlight rests on no city walls older than those of York, once called Eboracum by the Romans, later the chosen site of a great minster and the capital of a kingdom. Now the clatter of pack horses passing Warmgate Bar has given way to the noise of modern transport, leaving to gather the early morning workers. Embattled York, they called it once, when Bootham Bar used to watch the wild road north, and these streets were loud with stalls and bargaining tongues. Now, traders and typists, merchants and clerks rally to the shops and offices where today's business is gathered. The older streets have lost their traffic that grew too big for cobbled alleyways and burst out of them, went to the walls and broke great breaches through, so that York could reach out into a new age to take the railways into its lap.
It must have shaken the old walls when the first trains came rumbling through. That was back in 1840 or thereabouts. Now York's something of a centre for transport, with a grand station that any station master'd be proud of. And that's where I come in. Each morning, I'm met by what some folks would say is the same task. Hidebound routine, they'd call it. Well, some of it may be, though there's more to railways than routine if you care to look for it. Most of this stuff comes from region, that is, area headquarters. There's often a batch of extra trains for the weekend. Some don't need more than a glance. Now, I can leave that lot to my secretary. But there's some that need a bit more organising. There may be a cup tie somewhere. That'll mean more trains for the crowds and staff brought on to look after them. And then the next lesson is dictation. My dispatch case doesn't hold all the messages coming into the station. As well as a phone exchange in headquarters, there's a teleprinter place, up to the minute reports on the traffic position and such like. They deal with most messages in the outer office. Perhaps there's a horse box wanted, or a restaurant car needing its gas cylinders and fresh water tanks replenished. This is where all these extras are tied into normal station routine. I never spend more time in the office than I can help, and as soon as I've dealt with urgent matters, I'm off on a tour of inspection. Now you have to be right smart to beat these young train spotters onto the platforms. They come from all over just to spend the day collecting engine numbers. I've always in mind that some of these youngsters might be working for the railways too someday. So it may sound foolish, but I like to see things straight before they get round. Not that some of the little devils always leave them that way. I don't get far without someone chasing me with a message of some sort, and I always reckon to show interest. If I can make the smallest job seem as important as taking a train a couple of 100 miles, then I'm not doing so badly. Ah, there goes the 917 Sheffield. Now, there was a last-minute call for an extra coach on that. 8, 10, good, they managed it. Not many folks about yet to warm the platforms up, but from now and for an hour or so, trains will be coming and going one every 3 or 4 minutes. 25 in an hour and a half to be exact. 9:20 from Newcastle's on time. Those coaches will be all ready for the 10:05 Edinburgh. Things seem to be going all right, so I've time for my call into the signal box. We used to have 8 old hand lever boxes to cover the 33 miles of track. Now it's just one panel and a bank of switches. One glance and the signalman can tell exactly where trains are in his section. And he can set a path by turning a switch that sets every signal and moves every pair of points along a line of track. There's the North Britain coming in now. As the train's wheels come into each section, they make those big bulbs light up to show exactly where she is. We keep a record of delays, and whether it's a piece of coal in the points or an elephant on the line, down it goes in this occurrence book. And for those that can read between the lines, railway fashion, it's a chronicle of all the life and activity of this place, but not the only one.
Train now arriving at platform 14 is the 9:50 for Grantham and King's Cross.
Train now calling. This is York. This is York. Train now standing at platform 14 is the 9:50 for Grantham and King's Cross.
A train for Rotherham, Sheffield, Derby, Birmingham, Gloucester and Bristol will leave at 10:03
from platform 8 south. Train for Church Benton, Cavalsworth, Normanton, Wakefield. Train for Congleton, Markington, Beverley, Cockingham and Hull will leave at 10:10 from platform
6. A train for Malton and Scarborough at 10:15
from platform 15.
The Bradford Scarborough should be ready. Ah yes, they're setting the path now. There she goes, right across the junction, taking her way to the northeast, signalling her progress as she moves. Morning rush is just beginning to tail off now, but the day's work isn't just moving trains in and out of the station. Down in Clifton Sidings, for instance, coaches are forever being shuffled and dealt out again. Some will have to go over to the carriage and wagon works for repair. And besides new coaches being built, the old ladies of the rolling stock come to this place to get braced up, and they come out looking as new as if their buffers had never been bumped. Just time to tidy up before the place fills up again, for there's always work to keep us busy every minute, trains or no trains. And there's laundry, for instance. That comes with these mechanical horses now. Not that they're as good for gardens as the old kind, but they bring a bigger load of baskets. We're one of Transport's central laundries in York. Every day there are baskets of clean linen going from here to station hotels all over the country, and down to King's Cross for sleepers and restaurant cars. There's oil lamps too. I often think it's funny that though we've enormous organisations making and running nearly everything nowadays, the safest thing for a train is still an oil lamp trimmed and filled just right by a chap like this. That's railways. The latest thing in signal boxes in one hand and the oldest thing in lamps or headgear in the other. Every once in a while, this hat's my symbol of office. A symbol that stands for more than 125 years of railways in Britain and all that they still mean to us. It's a touch of tradition.